As the last remnants of the push-up zombie crumple to the ground, the man stands triumphant, his heart racing from the raw thrill of battle. The air crackles with leftover energy, and as he gazes down at the pulsating crystal in his hand, a deep hunger for power surges within him. With a fierce resolve, he devours the crystal, feeling its potent energy course through his veins, molten fire, igniting his very essence. In an explosive display of light, a menacing holographic system erupts before him, dark and foreboding, its design sharp and angular, echoing the chaos of the battle he just survived. A chilling voice reverberates through the air, dripping with authority. Crystal devoured, you have earned 10 points to unleash your potential. The interface flickers to life, revealing a selection of attributes, each one oozing with the promise of strength and vengeance. Choose wisely, warrior. Your choices will forge your path through blood and darkness. One power definition, the embodiment of raw, unrelenting force, your weapon against the weak. Subcategories, attack, amplify your strikes into devastating blows that can shatter bones and crush spirits. Speed, become a blur on the battlefield, striking before your enemies even know you're there. Defense, fortify your body against the onslaught of foes, turning their aggression into futile attempts. Dodge ability, master the art of evasion, slipping through attacks with sinister grace, leaving your enemies bewildered and exposed. 2. Intelligence definition, the cunning mind that sees through deception and lays traps for the unwary. Subcategories, perception, sharpen your senses to an edge so keen that you can smell fear and detect the slightest tremor of deceit. Detection, unravel illusions and magical traps, turning your enemies' tricks against them, laying bare their vulnerabilities. 3. Resistance definition, a formidable wall against the myriad horrors that seek to consume you. Subcategories, poison, fortify your body against toxic substances, making you impervious to their foul designs. Fire, embrace the flames, let them lick at your skin without harm, transforming you into a living inferno. Water, rise above the depths, untouched by drowning or the corrosive nature of water. Air, defy the winds and storms, standing resolute against nature's wrath. Space, warp the very fabric of reality, shrugging off cosmic anomalies that would disorient lesser beings. Time, laugh in the face of temporal distortions, resisting the decay of age and the weight of time. 4. Will definition, the unyielding spirit that commands respect and inspires terror. Subcategories, bloodlust, unleash an insatiable thirst for blood, turning your fury into a primal weapon that rends your foes apart. Killing intent, exude an aura of dread, forcing enemies to hesitate as they sense their impending doom. Rage, channel your fury into raw power, transforming pain into strength, a storm of wrath that cannot be contained. Aura, project an overwhelming presence that commands respect or instills fear, bending the will of those who dare oppose you. 5. Healing definition, the dark art of regeneration and curse breaking, a relentless resurgence from the depths of despair. Subcategories, regeneration, heal wounds at an alarming rate, rising from the ashes of battles as if death had never touched you. Undo curses, wield the ability to cleanse yourself of any affliction, turning the malice of your enemies against them. The voice from the system thunders with intensity. You have a total of 10 points to allocate among these attributes. Each point will not merely enhance your abilities, it will transform you into a harbinger of chaos and power. Will you become an unstoppable force, a cunning predator, or a resilient juggernaut? The choices you make will carve your legacy through the blood-soaked battlegrounds ahead. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, the man stares at the options, each brimming with potential for vengeance and domination. The holographic system waits, a sinister promise of power, ready to mold his choices into weapons that will ensure he reigns supreme over any who dare to challenge him. The time for reckoning is now. The world awaits the ferocity of his decisions. As the man stands before the cold, unyielding interface of the holographic system, the weight of his reckless choice bears down on him like a crushing boulder. He had foolishly poured all 10 of his hard-earned points into unlocking the power attribute, believing it would make him invincible, a force to be reckoned with in this brutal world. But now, as he stares at the screen that taunts him with its stark declaration, power level. Once, the bitter sting of devastation courses through him. His eyes dart across the dimly illuminated subcategories, each flickering to life like a mocking ghost. Only two options are highlighted, each a cruel reminder of his limitations. Attack power defense 1, speed 2, dodge ability 0. A seething rage ignites within him. How could he have been so naive? Stripped of the tools to defend himself or strike with any real impact, he feels exposed, vulnerable to the unforgiving world that surrounds him. But beneath this anger, a primal energy awakens. Power surges through his veins, heightening his senses and making him feel alive in a way he never thought possible. It's as if he could crush a boulder to dust with sheer determination. I will not be weak, he snarls, the promise of vengeance burning in his chest. I will become a beast that tears through this world. With that fierce resolve driving him forward, he storms toward the door that leads to the depths below. The journey from the 10th floor down to the first is merely the prelude to the carnage he plans to unleash. 9 floors of enemies await him, each one an opportunity to channel his fury and reclaim his dignity. But as he steps into the hallway, his gaze falls upon her, the girl in the yellow coat. She stands there, an embodiment of innocent power, radiating an overwhelming energy that sends a shiver down his spine. All thoughts of aggression evaporate in an instant, replaced by a potent mix of awe and fury. How can someone so small exude such raw power? Her eyes lock onto his, and a smile spreads across her face, a smile that feels like a knife twisting in his gut. Congratulations on unlocking your system, she chirps, the sweetness in her voice laced with mockery. Now I will give you a weapon. What do you want? With a flourish, she reveals an array of weapons, a sword, a dagger, a longsword, a knife, a bow and arrow, a staff, and a gun. Each weapon gleams under the harsh light, tempting him with promises of power and glory. But he knows he must choose wisely, for this girl is not merely a guide. She could be an obstacle, a reminder of his current inadequacies. Without hesitation, he reaches for the dagger, its blade sharp and gleaming. A good choice, she remarks, her tone dripping with amusement. Melee weapons will serve you better here. Guns don't work on these monsters. He can feel the weight of the dagger in his hand, and a surge of empowerment courses through him. Yet that feeling is short-lived as the girl leans in closer, her eyes sparkling with mischief. But don't get too comfortable, she warns cryptically. Just so you know, I'll be adding 50 more to my count after you take that weapon. Her laughter rings in the air, a taunting melody that sends a chill through him. She turns and walks away, her yellow coat fluttering behind her like a sinister shadow, the sound of her laughter echoing in his mind, a reminder of the contempt she holds for him. His heart races with indignation and fury. This girl is not just a source of power, she is a thorn in his side, a reminder of his weaknesses and failures. With every step she takes away from him, the laughter reverberates in his ears, fueling a growing storm of rage within him. I will get stronger, he vows, his voice a low growl. And when I do, you will regret every moment you laughed at me. The dagger becomes a symbol of his resolve, a promise that he will rise from this pitiful state. He will descend into the chaos, confronting the monsters that await him with a relentless thirst for power. Each enemy he encounters will be a stepping stone to vengeance, a way to reclaim his dignity and strength. The girl in the yellow coat may have laughed, but he will turn that laughter into fear. He will hunt her down, and when the time comes, he will make her pay for every moment of mockery and disdain she has shown him. He will not rest until he stands atop a mountain of his enemies, a conqueror in the truest sense, with her fear written across their faces. The hunt for strength begins now, and he will not falter, not falter. The world will soon learn the price of underestimating him, and it will be a price steeped in blood. As the man watches the girl in the yellow coat slip away into the oppressive darkness of the hallway, a seething rage ignites within him. Mingling with a fierce determination to reclaim his power, he pivots, ready to carve his own path, when suddenly a door bursts open with a bone-rattling crash. A zombie lurches out, its grotesque face contorted in a silent scream, eyes wide and hungry, an embodiment of death and despair. Instinctively, he grips his dagger, the blade reflecting the flickering lights like a harbinger of doom. But as the zombie catches sight of the weapon, A flicker of fear flashes across its decaying features. For just a heartbeat it hesitates, and then it reaches behind its back, pulling out a chainsaw with a guttural roar that vibrates through the air, sending a shiver down his spine. His heart races as the zombie lunges, chainsaw revving, teeth gnashing like a wild beast. For a moment he stands frozen, caught in a battle between disbelief and primal instinct. But then a fierce thought pierces through the haze. I can take him. Just as he steels himself for the fight, a wave of 12 more zombies spills out from the same door, grotesque formed with a chaotic arsenal. Knives, swords, guns, and 3 of them wielding chainsaws, their engines roaring like hellish beasts. Panic surges through him, every instinct screaming to run, but a wicked smile creeps across his face. This is not a moment for cowardice. This is an opportunity for carnage, a chance to assert his dominance. With a primal roar that echoes through the corridor, he charges into the fray, dagger raised high. The first zombie lunges at him, chainsaw spinning violently, but he ducks low, narrowly avoiding the whirring teeth. In one fluid motion, he slashes upward with his dagger, carving into the creature's side. Warm blood sprays across his face, a visceral reminder of the life he's taking as it crumples to the ground with a gurgling gasp, the chainsaw sputtering to a stop. The chaos heightens as he plunges into the horde, ripping apart the undead one by one, two by two. His dagger becomes an extension of his will, slicing through flesh and bone with brutal efficiency. He seizes weapons from the fallen, knives and swords, using their own tools against them. The exhilaration of the fight surges within him, every kill feeding the dark power that courses through his veins. He feels alive, invigorated by the violence, the taste of blood and death, electrifying his senses. Each swing of his blade is accompanied by guttural laughter, a chaotic symphony of destruction as he dispatches the creatures. But the battle is taking its toll. He's battered, bruised, and panting heavily, sweat mingling with blood, yet he presses on, a relentless force of nature. Finally, only one zombie remains, a hulking brute with brass knuckles, its eyes glinting with feral rage, a predator in its own right. This is his final challenge, and he can feel the adrenaline coursing through him, the thrill of combat igniting every nerve in his body. The brute snarls and lunges, fists raised. The first punch connects solidly with his jaw, sending shockwaves of pain rippling through him, but it only stokes the fire of his fury. "Is that all you've got?" he growls, shaking off the impact, his resolve hardening. The creature swings again, and this time he sidesteps, feeling the rush of air as the knuckles narrowly miss his face. But he isn't quick enough to evade the next punch, which slams into his gut, doubling him over. Pain explodes within him, but it only fuels his rage. "You think you can take me down?" he snarls, determination hardening his resolve. With a ferocious roar, he lunges forward, driving the dagger deep into the creature's gut, twisting the blade with savage glee. The brute howls in agony, staggering back, but he is relentless, pressing his advantage with unyielding ferocity. He grabs the zombie by its collar, slamming its head against the wall with a sickening crack that reverberates through his bones. The impact rattles him, but he doesn't stop. He slams its head into the wall again and again, the creature's screams turning to desperate gurgles as its skull begins to splinter. He can feel the adrenaline surging through him, a drug that heightens every sense, every emotion. Finally, the brute collapses to its knees, dazed and vulnerable. The man stands over it, breathing heavily, his dagger poised and ready to deliver the final blow. With one last brutal stab, he pierces the zombie's skull, his blade sinking deep into the rotting flesh, watching with twisted satisfaction as the last vestiges of life fade from its eyes. But he's far from finished. With a primal scream that echoes through the corridor, he begins to rip into the creature, tearing flesh and muscle apart until he exposes the gray matter within. Blood and brain matter coat his hands, the visceral thrill of the hunt coursing through him like fire. He is a hunter, a predator, and this is his quarry. As he digs deeper into the zombie's skull, he finally reveals it, the crystal pulsating with an otherworldly glow that beckons to him like a siren. His heart races as he pulls it free, the energy crackling against his skin. He hears the system chime in, its voice cold and clinical. "You have killed 13 basic zombies, no points added." The words cut through the haze of adrenaline, but he is undeterred. In one fluid motion, he begins to devour the crystals, feeling their power surge through him like a drug. Each one ignites a fire within, amplifying his strength, enhancing his senses to an unimaginable level. He tears through the last of the zombies, blood splattering across his face, his laughter echoing through the hallway as he consumes their very essence. This isn't just a victory, he roars, the thrill of power flooding his veins. This is a rebirth, the taste of blood, the stench of death, and the raw exhilaration of battle fuel his transformation. He is no longer just a man fighting for survival. He is becoming something far greater, a force of nature, a predator at the apex of power. With the crystal pulsing in his hand and the remnants of his enemies at his feet, he prepares to face whatever horrors await him next, ready to unleash his vengeance and embrace the darkness that beckons him forward. The hunt is far from over, and the world will soon learn the price of crossing him. Each heartbeat resonates with the promise of more bloodshed, more power, and he is ready to claim it all. The corridor stretches ahead, dark and foreboding, yet filled with the intoxicating scent of victory, and he moves forward, eager to revel in the chaos that awaits. As our protagonist catches his breath on the 10th floor, the metallic chime of the system slices through the tension in the air. You are about to level up in 3 seconds, it announces, a countdown that sets his heart racing. Confusion flickers across his face, quickly replaced by an overwhelming sense of anticipation. When the countdown hits 0, a surge of raw energy courses through him, washing over his battered body like a cleansing flood. Every wound, every scar, and all the pain he had endured vanish as if erased by an unseen hand. He stands taller, revitalized, a newfound power swelling within him. Congratulations, you are now level 2. The system continues, the words echoing in his mind like a triumphant anthem. You have unlocked an alternate space for your inventory. You can store weapons, food, clothes, anything you wish, except for living beings or anything that moves. Excitement races through him at the thought of hoarding supplies, a tactical advantage in this hellish landscape. Then the system adds a further boon. Additionally, you now possess an automatic function. Whenever you kill a zombie or any creature of worth, valuable items will be automatically transferred to your inventory. His heart races as he absorbs this information, feeling an intoxicating sense of invincibility envelop him, setting the stage for what's to come. But just as he revels in his newfound abilities, the door at the end of the hallway creaks open ominously, drawing his attention. Out steps a pit bull, its snarling face twisted in primal fury, its fur matted with blood and flecks of flesh. Behind it, a zombie man emerges, grotesque and shambling, gripping a rusted chain attached to the dog. The rancid stench of decay wafts toward him thick and suffocating, sending a chill running down his spine. The zombie man's remaining eye gleams with a twisted malevolence as he pulls out a knife, its blade glinting ominously in the dim light. Get him, boy, he rasps, the command dripping with sadistic anticipation. In an instant, the pit bull lunges forward, teeth bared and muscles coiled to strike. Our protagonist instinctively raises his dagger, ready to counter the beast. But just as he aims to stab, the dog vanishes into thin air, and in its place, the zombie man lunges forward, his fist connecting brutally with the protagonist's face. The impact sends him reeling, stars exploding in his vision, a metallic taste flooding his mouth. Didn't see that coming, did you? The zombie man cackles, the sound a grotesque mixture of glee and malice. He follows up with a swift kick to the protagonist's midsection, knocking the wind out of him, a sharp pain radiating through his core. Gasping, he struggles to regain his footing. Just as he steadies himself, the pit bull reappears, charging at him with a savage snarl, drool dripping from its fangs. The man swings his dagger, but again the dog disappears, replaced by the zombie man's fist crashing into his jaw with bone-crunching force. The world spins as he stumbles back, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, the taste of iron mixing with the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Get up, fight back, the zombie man taunts, laughter echoing in the hallway like a death knell. The pit bull lunges again, and the cycle repeats. Every time our protagonist tries to land a blow, the pit bull vanishes, and the zombie man takes its place. attacking with unrestrained fury. Realization begins to dawn on him. The zombie man and the pit bull are somehow linked, their movements synchronized in a twisted dance of violence. The zombie man's power allows him to switch places with the dog at will, exploiting every opportunity to strike when the protagonist is off guard. With each new assault, the zombie man slams the protagonist's head against the wall, the impact reverberating through his skull, leaving him dazed. Bone-crushing kicks send him sprawling, gasping for breath. "You can't keep up with us," the zombie man growls, reveling in the chaos he's creating, his laughter mingling with the sounds of violence. Determined not to be outmatched, the protagonist begins to adapt, observing the pattern of their attacks. He feints a move toward the pit bull, baiting the zombie man to switch. As the dog lunges, he anticipates the switch, narrowly dodging the zombie's incoming punch. The zombie man, realizing the shift in strategy, growls in frustration, his mouth twisted into a snarl. "You think you're clever, don't you?" With a sudden burst of speed, he charges, grabbing the protagonist by the collar and slamming him back against the wall, the breath knocked from his lungs, the sound echoing like a gunshot. As he struggles to breathe, the pit bull reappears, snapping its jaws dangerously close to his throat. The protagonist manages to sidestep just in time, feeling the rush of air as the creature's teeth barely miss him. But the moment is fleeting. The zombie man capitalizes on his momentary distraction, delivering a brutal headbutt that sends him sprawling. He hits the ground hard, the cold floor biting into his back. "Stay down, you worthless piece of flesh," the zombie man snarls, grinning as he stands over him, the knife glistening in his blood-stained hand. But the protagonist refuses to give in. Clenching his fists, he pushes himself back to his feet, his resolve hardening into steel. He knows he has to outsmart this grotesque duo to find a way to break their rhythm. As the pit bull lunges again, he feigns a stab toward it, watching closely. When the dog disappears, he pivots, ready for the zombie man's next attack. The moment the creature steps forward, he dodges, swinging his dagger in a wide arc, aiming for the zombie's throat. The blade connects, slicing through rotten flesh with a sickening squelch, blood spraying from the wound like a crimson fountain. The zombie man's face contorts in shock and rage, a gurgling scream escaping his lips as he stumbles backward, clutching at the gaping wound in his neck. Viscous blood pours from the opening, cascading down his chest and pooling on the floor. "You little bastard," he howls, his voice a mix of disbelief and fury. For a split second, he loses his connection to the pit bull, allowing the protagonist a brief moment of reprieve. Seizing the opportunity, the protagonist charges at the pit bull, finally managing to land a blow as the creature reappears. The dagger plunges deep into the dog's flank, and it howls in agony, blood spraying across the floor as it collapses, its body convulsing violently in its final moments. The sight gruesome and visceral, but the victory is short-lived. The zombie man, now fueled by pure rage and desperation, lunges at him, fists flying with unrestrained fury. He punches, grabs, and kicks, relentlessly battering the protagonist as he tries to recover from the injury to the dog. The blows landing with sickening thuds that resonate through the air. With each blow, the man feels his strength waning, but he refuses to succumb. He begins to anticipate the zombie's movements, dodging blows and countering with his own, the air thick with the scent of blood and sweat, the sounds of violence echoing ominously in the hallway. Finally, in a desperate surge of power, he grabs the zombie man's wrist, twisting it and forcing the knife from his hand. The blade clatters to the ground, but he doesn't let go. With a swift motion, he drives his knee into the creature's gut, the impact eliciting a guttural grunt from the zombie as he doubles over, gasping for air. "This ends now," he growls, adrenaline pumping through his veins as he prepares to finish the fight once and for all. With fierce determination, he snatches the knife from the ground, the blade glinting wickedly in the dim light. He lunges at the zombie man, who is still reeling from the blow. The protagonist plunges the knife into the creature's side, feeling the resistance of rotting flesh give way beneath his assault. The zombie screeches, a raw, inhuman sound that reverberates through the air as he tears the blade free, blood spraying in an arc that paints the walls crimson. Now you'll know what it feels like, he roars, his voice filled with rage and triumph. He strikes again, plunging the knife into the zombie's abdomen, twisting it savagely as the creature convulses, blood pouring from the wound and soaking into the floor, a gruesome testament to the brutality of their battle. The zombie man stumbles back, clutching at his wounds, but the protagonist isn't done. He charges forward, determined to end this once and for all. He tackles the creature to the ground, pinning it down as he rains down blows upon its face, each punch connecting with sickening force, blood splattering across his arms and face, painting him in a grotesque mask of victory. With one final brutal strike, he drives the knife deep into the zombie's skull, the blade sinking into the soft tissue with a sickening squelch, a grotesque finality to their vicious encounter. The zombie's body convulses, then goes still, the madness fading from its eyes as life slips away, a horrifying reminder of the violence that had just unfolded. Panting heavily, the protagonist rises, surveying the carnage around him. The pit bull lies motionless, its once ferocious form now a lifeless husk, and the zombie man is a grotesque heap, blood pooling around him, a final bloody testament to the brutality of their encounter. He wipes the blood from his face, breathing heavily, the adrenaline still coursing through his veins, fueling his... Hey everyone, if you're enjoying the content and want to keep the good vibes rolling, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps me out and lets me know you want more awesome videos like this. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and join our amazing community. Just tap that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thank you for your support, and let's keep this journey going together.